Guys, I wanted to come on and make another video. There's something going on with the way that Zoom is recording, and I know a couple of you have mentioned that the audio is cutting out in the beginning. I have to try and figure out what that is, or maybe just use a microphone. So I will definitely look into that because I'm not sure why Zoom is doing that, but it's muting the beginning um, of the video. So things are heating up in our reality. We're seeing a lot of stuff now coming to the light, and what's presenting is going to be bringing a lot more separation as we're seeing everything starting to unfold. So with everything that's presenting, it's another opportunity for separation, right? And under the old paradigm of third dimension, we would have been playing into, well, I like this and you like that, therefore you and I can't talk because we're fighting with each other and we're against each other in our point of view. And or hey, look, CNN has it wrong and Fox News has it right, or vice versa. And what this is what one said and this is what another said, and then we see it in all facets, right? And I'm seeing it also within the spiritual community, yet again in a new way. And we have to look at it from the perspective that separation is separation. It does not matter where the separation is held. And that is part of the third dimensional paradigm, right? It's what we came in here to work through is separation. So if you pay attention to what's taking place, you'll hear things like people talking about, oh, how imperative it is to work in the chakras, or how imperative it is to work in our bodies, our etheric body, and build out from there, and or our emotional body, our mental body, and working that way. And so we're hearing like all of these different things, right? And everybody has their own interpretation of what's taking place, okay? But everything that wants us to go microscopic, to look at something, pull it apart, pick it apart, to have to dig deep into the center of it, that's all, again, the game of separation, right? Telling us that we're not enough and we have to do more. We constantly have to do more, right? And then couple that with this energy that we're working in, especially this plasma energy, which is about contraction and expansion, right? Expansion is the consciousness. So when we are in an expanded state, we feel very bloated. We feel very, very uncomfortable. Digestion is off, and our consciousness is in the process of expanding, and we're taking we're taking in more light codes, and our body is having to integrate them. And then at the same time, we're trying to alchemize and dismantle the old realities and the old timelines and old belief systems and patterns and programs, etc. And so this is a lot of work on our body. And then as we get through that phase, we go into contraction, and contraction will make you feel like you lost that 20 pounds you thought you gained while you were expanding. And suddenly you feel, whole again, your body feels better. And this is how this works now. Okay, so this is how we're doing it. And so while we're taxed with working through these different light frequencies, we're feeling exhausted. Our body is exhausted. We are going through a lot right now, and we have to be gentle with ourselves. But to try to dive down into anything in a microscopic way is going to be too much, and it's going to keep us locked on that hamster wheel of the third dimension, where there is duality, polarity, and separation, okay? So the best way to navigate what's taking place now, especially now, because we're going to see a lot of stuff coming up in the news and the media. A lot of stuff is going to be very, very hard to take, very difficult. We're seeing a lot of pushback. Um, a lot of things that are going to make us very, very uncomfortable coming up. A lot surrounding that abuse of power, control, manipulation, all of that sort of stuff, right? So we have to look at it from the perspective of the higher timelines of that 5D perspective that we're all desiring to be in, okay? And one of the questions I've been getting a lot of is what happens when we get to 5D? Well, we're actually there already, okay? Because as I explained in yesterday's video, 5D is actually a perception. It's our perception of where we are perceiving ourselves to be in our reality, okay? So when I think about 5D, I basically see myself standing way, way up, like either on the tallest mountain or up on a very, very high cloud in the middle of the sky, looking down at everybody on earth and watching all of the crazy playing out. I am not involved in it. I'm not vested in it emotionally. I don't find myself feeling triggered or getting angry. Yesterday, somebody had shared with me the uh, the the video of Dr. Birx talking about the mask debate and that there might be face shields coming, and I could only laugh at that because it's like there's we need this to wake up those that are still sleeping. Those of us that are awake don't really need it, but it's helping us also clear triggers and timelines and whatnot until we get into divine neutrality, where we just don't find ourselves being triggered anymore. And we're in that very neutral place where we can look at everything without judgment, right? So this also takes us back to that whole thing of separation, the game of separation, where we're feeling like we need to do more. And people are like, no, you have to do it this way. And someone else goes, no, you have to do it that way. And no, the higher self always says, just be in a place of allowing, be present for everything that is, being experienced in your reality. Yesterday I talked about anti-aging, and the secret to that is really how we are being present in our awareness. When we're in a present state of being and we're happy and we're exuberant and we're feeling good about ourselves and we're creating, right? So coloring, painting, singing, dancing, just having a few moments of creating and finding the time for that, making the time for that, because I know I could be guilty of that. I'm working on a project right now, and yesterday I didn't make much time at all, and I really felt it. I felt the difference in my field, that I wasn't in my creative state of being. I wasn't maybe as joyful as I've been in the past. So we have to make time to do those things, and we have to remind ourselves that it's important to do that. It's also important to remind yourself that when we are experiencing things that we're not liking, like this whole new narrative that's playing out, that's probably going to intensify as we're seeing what's taking place within the government, the news, the whole nine yards, right? We have to look at that and say that is a consciousness. That is the third dimensional consciousness. All of that anger, all of that frustration, all of that fear is third dimension. And that is where the polarity and duality is held. So we have to look at that and we have to say, do I want to participate in that? Can I observe it without feeding into it, without feeding into the emotions of it? Where am I placing my vibrational currency? Am I feeding that and making my vibration lower, or am I navigating it in a way that it's not really even being felt by me? I'm just being an observer, a conscious observer of what's transpiring and what's playing out. And that's where we all need to be. It's really important for us to be a conscious observer and not participate. We could stand up on that high mountain, or we could stand up on that high cloud, and we could look down and we could see it. We could acknowledge it. We know it's there. We know that it has to play out in order for things to break apart so that they can rebuild and come back together again better. And if we get ourselves involved in it, it means that we're still needing to let go of stuff. We're still needing to clear stuff in our field, right? Because fifth dimension's already here. If you go back to my past videos, I talk about frequency. Every dimension is a spectrum of frequencies. So if you're wanting that fifth dimensional feeling, that really requires that we sit in present moment awareness without any judgment, and we go into divine neutrality. We see what's playing out, but we're not feeling into it. We're not allowing ourselves to get emotionally involved in it. We're seeing it. We know it. We know that it is deconstructing the third dimensional paradigm, the timelines, the realities, all of that, right? Because our medical system needs to be rebuilt. Our government needs to be rebuilt. The way that we work needs to be rebuilt. The way that we interact with each other needs to be rebuilt. The way that we care for each other needs to be rebuilt. Fifth dimensional consciousness requires that we all find love for each other. It requires that we care for each other in a very compassionate way, that nobody is left behind, that there is nobody struggling. And that is fifth dimensional consciousness, when we truly can love another without any expectation of having anything come back to us. That's fifth dimensional, fifth dimensional consciousness. That's what it feels like. It's when we're not thinking about what we're getting back in return. We're giving because it feels really good to give. We're giving because we know that it's going to benefit the person that's receiving. And so this, when you are wanting to know what it's going to feel like when we get into fifth dimension, that's what it's going to feel like. It's going to feel like love coming at you from all directions. And you're in fifth dimensional consciousness when you feel those moments of complete bliss. So it's those moments where you are happy for no reason, where you are in sheer joy, your heart is just pounding with excitement, and you just feel so much love that you just can't share that love fast enough with everybody around you. That's 5D. That's what that feels like. It's really important to hold that awareness. 4D is where we're just figuring out that we're awake and that we're starting to do the work. But 5D consciousness, you're in a state of happy all day. You're in a state of bliss all day, right? That's how it feels. You're seeing the stuff that's playing out, but you're not vested emotionally in it. I see it. I don't get emotional about it. If I happen to run into something that is, very ominous and very scary looking, I don't play that emotion out. That's a choice. Third dimension held polarity and duality. Third dimension is where we grew up. We learned how to be very good at having a range of emotions, and now I find myself in joy 99% of the time, so that when I do see something like that, I don't get triggered by it. I just experience it in the moment, but knowing it. For many reasons, in case somebody asks me about it or asks my thoughts on it. And then also just to have an awareness of what is going on and what is playing out, right? So my expectation is, as we go through the rest of this year, going to December, we're going to be pulling apart a lot of old paradigms that aren't working anymore. This is dismantling those paradigms and the programs and those realities that are just not in alignment anymore. So I feel like the rest of this year is going to be somewhat intense. But we probably, the next month, 2 months are gonna be most of it, right? And as we get past these next 2 months, we're gonna see a lot of shifting and a lot of winding down, as we're trying to straighten all of it out and figure it out and come back into some semblance of free order, like more in the lines of us being able to feel like we are finally free. And that will be very unnerving too, as people will not be able to understand how to handle that. So, that's all fifth dimensional consciousness. And it requires us to just be present. So for those of you wanting to know what 5D is, that's 5D. We lose all judgment. We're no longer thinking that the only way to ascend is through working through the etheric bodies or the you know, main bodies, the chakra system, the meridian point. It's not that anymore. It's just a state of being. When you start to shift into that state of being, that higher state of being, where you're just in the present moment, that is 5D. There is no more doing the heavy work anymore because our body is in the physical ascension. The last 7 years was the spiritual ascension. The spiritual ascension was where all the work was. Now we're in the physical ascension. We're not doing that kind of work anymore. Okay, so that's really important to take in. And for those of you that were asking what my thoughts were with people being taken off the earth by ships, I don't see humanity leaving the earth. Okay, maybe a few naughty people might leave the earth, but humanity is not going anywhere. And the reason I say that is because we are fighting for this planet right now. And this planet is rich in so many ways, right? There's a richness of it in so many ways, and the way we can inhabit it and the way we can use the resources here, that I don't see us leaving. I know people are talking about ships coming and taking those who are conscious or ascended, or the 144,000 are leaving. I do not see that. I do not get that. My higher self is saying that is not true. And that is going to be my perspective on this. So if you are fearing that and you're going and your loved ones aren't going, stop holding that fear, okay? Because I don't see that. What I do see that, though, is the more you are doing your work, you're going to start to notice that if third dimension is right here and fifth dimension is here, and you're more here all the time and you're not experiencing the pain and suffering, but your family is here experiencing the pain and suffering, it's going to be like you're looking in through a through binoculars or a telescope or something like that at them in their suffering, because you're not going to be able to participate in that lower frequency. When we're in the higher dimensional states, like fifth dimensional frequency, it's very, very hard, almost impossible for us to go down into the lower levels and play in that stream of consciousness, which is, you know, indicative of not wanting to be on Facebook anymore. So for those of you that have felt the need to leave Facebook, like myself, it's because we're no longer capable of tolerating all of that energy that's coming through there, which is a very distorted third dimensional energy. And Facebook was created for the purpose of separation, to keep everybody separated through diversity, through, you know, hate. And so so letting that go is like a sign that you're evolving beyond that consciousness that's held in that group paradigm, right? No longer needing to play into that. And yes, there are some that are going to be placeholders in that are going to, you know, still fight the good fight of what is, you know, trying to wake people up and everything else. But the energies on the earth are going to do that naturally, right? That waking up process is going to happen naturally as the energies on the earth continue to ramp up, and we're all experiencing them and feeling them in our physical bodies. It's just happening. Our higher self is always in charge of that. The higher self knows when it's your time to wake up. And you could try to wake somebody up all you want, and they're not going to get it until their higher self says, okay, it's time for them to wake up. Okay, so relax. Try not to struggle. You know, don't worry about your loved ones. Just hold space within the higher realms for that shift to occur. It's always based on the soul's work. It's not on our time. It's not within our ability to shift someone if they're not ready to shift. It's always at the higher self level, right? As the soul has pre-orchestrated how this is going to happen prior to coming into this incarnation. So we have to let that go so that we can do our work and move forward within this. And you'll find that the more you're doing this work and the higher you ascend to, you start to have fewer and fewer people around you in the beginning. And then all of a sudden, what happens is you start connecting, because now you're so separated that you have made space to bring your soul group, your soul family back into the picture. Okay. And then all of a sudden you start noticing there's new people showing up, and you're connecting to all these new people, and everything feels different, and suddenly you have friends again, but you have new friends, and they understand, and they're more in alignment, right? This is how it works. So for those of you that are feeling alone, you've needed this alone time to identify and sift and sort through what you do want and what you don't want. This is what I do, that's what I don't want. And let go of those people that are no longer fitting in your reality. Let go of the people that are judging you. Let go of the people that are judging everything else around them. What if it's not resonating with you? Your body is a great barometer for where you are within the energy. If it feels good in your body, then do it. If it doesn't feel good for you, then don't do it. Walk away. Okay. So just be very, very aware, be present as much as you can. And when you see something that's upsetting you, try to imagine yourself stepping up on the top of a mountain, looking down and seeing, oh, okay, I'm only looking at third dimension. I don't like what I'm seeing, and that's the reaction that I'm having, but I don't have to participate. I don't have to do that anymore. I can be a conscious observer and just step back and just watch what's playing out. And I'm not going to worry about other people playing out in that arena, because when their time comes to wake up, their higher self will wake them up. Okay. And that's how this goes. So it's most important for us to really work within our ability to be present, to hold in awareness, because we're actually anchoring the light for everybody else that's not yet awake. Okay. And the more we can be present and hold the higher timelines, the more we will anchor higher light frequency into the earth and into humanity in general. All right. So hopefully this video helps and I've answered some of your questions. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I am so grateful. For those of you that are regulars to my channel, thank you so much for tuning in and being present with me and supporting my channel. Those of you that are new, welcome. Thank you for joining. Hopefully you'll find things that resonate with you here. Lots of information in past videos, so feel free to go back and check those out. And if you like this and you want to see more content like this, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, click the bell so you're notified. And I look forward to seeing you guys again in another video. And I'm sending you so much love, hugs and love. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me today. All right. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.